All right, the major headlines, the big stories are in focus at this time here on Smooth Breakfast on Smooth 98.1, where we love music and we love life as well. It's 31 minutes past 7 a.m. on the 15th day of September 2025. This is Freshly Pressed. Welcome into a new day and a new week, the first Freshly Pressed of the week. And we're looking to start things on an absolutely amazing note as always. Some interesting stories to talk about. Analysis will follow. Your thoughts, your contributions are what we look forward to the most. You keeping up with us and letting you know and letting us know your feelings about the stories. Your feedback means so very much to us. And you can do that as always on WhatsApp or on YouTube. Now, the WhatsApp number is 0911 999 0981. 0911 999 0981 to stay in the present. Let the old number go. I've said that. I've done that, made that mistake a few times. Join us on YouTube at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. All right. Two fine gentlemen are joining me to analyze the stories and, of course, shake tables where they need to be shaken in the persons of Mr. C and, of course, AB Bozimo. They're joining me this morning. AB, very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Mr. C, and good morning to all of the wonderful listeners out there. It's great to be with you first thing this cold morning.
Mr. C, how's it going?
Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Navy. Good morning, Lagos. It's a rainy day, but let's hope the day brings its blessings.
Well, we do hope so. I mean, Nanit has actually warned about rainstorms and all that. So we need to prepare ourselves. And also, all the states are actually prepared because we talk about rains and floodings every two market days, and we hear the same things. Leave the area, move to highland. I don't know. But anyways, that's to one side. Mr. C, let's begin our journey this morning. Let us start with matters of security. Once again, we're talking about bandits who are controlling local government areas. So, this is from the Vanguard. Despite repeated government countermeasures and heavy security deployment, Sokoto State is bleeding under the iron grip of of armed bandits who have unleashed a wave of unrelenting terror across 10 local government areas, leaving behind charred villages, mass graves, and shattered families. In Sabon Birni, the birthplace of the state's deputy governor, Idris Mohammed Gobir, nights have become a theater of blood in many communities. Now, this is just one of various states we've talked about where you have bandits holding sway in a number of local government areas where peace pacts or peace treaties have been reached and so on and so forth. Now, Sokoto State has about 23 local government areas. 10 are under the rule of bandits, Mr. C. Once again, where are we going?
Okay, so to answer your question, there's an implicit presumption in your question, assumption, and that implicit presumption is that we're actually going anywhere. We might actually be rooted to the spot. Now, sadly, this is another story we have to discuss again. In states in Nigeria, and I refuse to accept the term bandits because under the last administration, there was an official gazette. They are designated as terrorists. So you have non-state terrorist actors, once again proving their mettle and sadly reinforcing the fact that the relevant state actors are nowhere to be seen. In Niger State, same thing. In Katsina, same thing. In Borno, same thing. In Yobe, same thing. Now, it begs the question. We note the efforts and some of the achievements of the security forces, but how does this make any sense? That in a state with 23 local government areas, 10 of them are under the grip and thumb of terrorist non-state actors. So picture a situation where this state governor then travels abroad to look for foreign investors or foreign investment. Who's going to take him seriously? And then it then begs the second question, what exactly is he governing? If almost half of the state is terrorized by non-state terrorist actors, So you have the Nigerian police force, they have a state command in Sokoto.
Mm.
This is almost half of the state. So we have area commanders who have questions to answer. We have divisional police officers who have who have questions to answer. Now, in all of this, what is going on? Each state has its security council and they meet from time to time. So in Sokoto State, when they meet, what do they discuss? Now, if the state, which should protect the lives of the ordinary Nigerian, is unable to do so, should we then not resurrect the two eternal questions? One, state police. Are we not right for state police since it is clear the federal security agencies are seemingly overwhelmed? Two, the second age-old question, is it not time for Nigerians to bear arms, personal arms?
I mean, looking at the first question, I mean, the president recently spoke about that at this point in time, state policing, there's really no other.
Ayo, I can't hear you.
Okay, sorry, AB, can you hear me now?
Very good. You're very well. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so I said that, I mean, the president recently said that there's really nowhere else to go than to actually, put state policing or bring state policing into life. So he has spoken about that very recently.
So what's the delay? Because we saw the speed was where they changed the national anthem. What exactly is the holdup? Because for how much longer will we have to read that innocent Nigerians have lost their lives, innocent Nigerians have been forced into captivity, innocent Nigerians have been forced to pay huge ransom amounts? And let's not forget, these attacks, these local governments are being attacked in the dead of the night. So what is the security architecture for Sokoto State? Since they now know that most of the attacks happen at night on the early hours of the morning, do the security agencies close at 5 or 6 p.m. like every other worker? Do they resume at 6 a.m.? So there are many questions that need answering. And this is not just for Sokoto State. Across the nation, what is the security architecture? Why are we not reviewing it to adapt to the many attacks, the many challenges we're facing? And again, the National Security Advisor, no doubt, will give you the benefit of the doubt that you're doing your best. But it is clear that in spite of your best, you are going to have to do a lot more. The security chiefs, honestly, it's inexplicable because in any serious country, heads would have rolled. It's that simple. You cannot continue having attacks. We discuss attacks on this program at least twice a week or thrice a week. For how much longer is this supposed to continue? Is this how they plan to grow $1 trillion economy?
AB, please.
Just last week, we spoke of attacks in Borno side. If there was ever a place, 10 out of 23, if there was ever a place that needed a state of emergency, I would have imagined that Sokoto would be one such place. But no words from anybody who's on vacation. My story, please.
All right, Evie, let's talk about developments where as regards resident doctors. This is from the Punch newspaper. The Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, that's NARD, has suspended its 5-day warning strike 2 days after it began. The association has also given the federal government an additional 2-week ultimatum to meet its demands. The doctors down tools on Friday morning, but suspended the action on Saturday night, with members directed to actually resume work on Sunday. So what is said or has been said here is that some of the demands have been met by the government, and they're giving them an additional 2 weeks to meet up with the remaining of their demands. But AB, one would wonder that looking at how this has happened, strike on Friday, called off on Saturday, 2-week ultimatum again. What's the guarantee that after the 2-week ultimatum we won't begin the song and dance once again? Because this is a very age-old song and dance. Strike, call off, move on, repeat.
Let's first of all take a step back. This is the second strike we're hearing about in 1 week, because we know that at the beginning of the earlier week, another story coming, there was a strike by petroleum workers of some sort. So when there are all these skirmishes in the background, there's something much amiss in a system. Strike by this set of people called off, strike by that other set of people. Now, when the petroleum people did it, the country shut down momentarily. When the doctors do it, the healthcare sector also shuts down, because as much as you have consultants who cannot and will not work on the job based on their, ethics and all that, they are often supported by these resident doctors. A lot of the back and forth and grunt work is done by the resident doctors. So they have a strong thing. It baffles me how they will give a strike, a notice of a strike. Nothing will be done until the strike happens to start. Then they meet with them. Is there no such thing as thinking ahead in this side of the government officials? How about you met with them 3 days before the former deadline so that the strike never happened? But part of the good part of the story is that they say some of the things have been addressed, but they're asking for a number of other things: residency training, there's some arrears, there's some, and you and I know that in preparing, when the governors prepared to leave their states idle and go and wave a plane away, every amount of money needed for that was provided. So they went and stood on the tarmac, were blown by Jet A1 fuel, and that was it. They stained their white. When anything else happens in the various states, money is made available as and when due, and even before. Why would you now leave this doctor? I mean, let me just say it's symptomatic. If you can have UCH closed for 4 months because of no light, it just tells you that there's little regard for the entire health sector. That's the truth. But when you have something like an impending strike and you know it's going to affect the ordinary people of your country, I would think that should ginger you to step up. So they've stopped it now. They have admitted some things have been done. I think at the core of this is lack of trust in government. There is a sense of no good faith on the part of government officials. Government seems to want to dole out these things in bits. I don't think any doctor with the level of training and intelligence thinks that there is a sack of Ghana must go that can solve all the problems at once. But I suspect it's an observation that in other parts, you people seem to have so much priority. But when it comes to us, you don't. And that is where that lack of trust comes in, a sense of bad faith in negotiation that leads to these things. Two, we are here by the grace of God. Two, how many days will come? We'll be here. We'll see whether or not government will actually carry on with a way that will prevent the second strike. And let's not forget, you see, I tell everybody, the only emergencies that exist in the world are medical emergencies. I'll give you an example. If I heard, God forbid, that a building I was working on collapsed right now, my first question would be, did anybody die? And the answer is one of two questions: yes or no.
Right.
If the answer is yes, it is a medical emergency. If the answer is no, honestly, I could get there tomorrow. Of course, properly, I'd rush there today. But if I got there tomorrow, the building won't resurrect itself. Speed, there's no emergency. So when all professions are important, but when you're talking about medicine, you really must focus on that sector to make sure that the people working are not overstretched, overworked, because their mistakes now affect the rest of us. If a doctor is overworked, as they all are, because half of them have left or a portion of them have left the country, we are suffering because they are overstretched and overworked. Give them their due. The rest of us will take a number and wait for our own grievances. I'm sorry, but a medical doctor that I'm not, in terms of professional responsibility, has a responsibility for life and death. A lawyer, he argues very well, can take care of your liberty or not, but not your life. So the rest of us have very important things to do, but a doctor's own is the one that's by life and death. I think you must prioritize them.
Healthcare workers, doctors, they must be prioritized. And if you
that
just to
entire
add
sector.
to the
Yes,
entire
that
sector,
entire sector.
just to add to what you just spoke about now, looking at this this age-old tussle, ASU and the government also comes to mind. Government tussling with a number of bodies, really, doctors, those in the educational sector as well. Goodness gracious. Let me take a
But
message or
there's
two.
never a tussle when it comes to prayers to inboxes. Those
Of
prayers
course
go
not.
seamlessly. There's
I
no,
mean,
you see, and that is, you see, that's where the bad faith comes. We know, like Mr. C said, an anthem can be changed in 24 hours, but everything else seems to take so long. Lives are being slaughtered in Sokoto, 10 out of the local government, and somebody will come and tell me Tinubu gains. What was that rubbish that this national security advisor once said? Absolute rubbish. That is not Tinubu pains, it's Tinubu gains. Rubbish. Let's go.
Emeka Enike just says, Ayo, please, the bandits are not terrorists, but repentant civilians. The DSS will never fish out the murderers except hunting for WhatsApp and Facebook users. Ouch.
Exactly.
Michael says, good morning to you, Michael. Number one, correct about calling them terrorists. Number two, state police will never be equipped mentally, physically, training, and equipment-wise. Well, let's give them benefit of the doubt. Number three, elections are coming up. What will the government do to secure lives? Very good question. And number four, I hold the government responsible for the slow response. There's definitely something fishy afoot. Well, conspiracy theories all around. All right, Mr. C, let's keep the ball rolling. Let's talk about food. Well, not food in the sense, but anyways, you'll find out soon enough. The punch is where we're pitching our tent. The federal government has said it is working to expand the national homegrown school feeding program to 50 million primary schools pupils in 2026. Now, Adiremi Adebowale, the National Program Manager, the National Social Investment Program Agency, disclosed this in an interview with the news agency of Nigeria in Abuja, saying, and I quote, we are working to include early years, primary 1 to 3, primary 4 to 6 in the school feeding program, and also out of school children, which we are handling step by step to integrate. So by the year 2026, we are looking at feeding close to 50 million pupils in primary school in Nigeria. I'll pause there to start with, Mr. C. The next quote is, we'll get there eventually, but this same school feeding program that has come up before, I think during the Buhari administration and all that, was that one successful? And what will be different here to make this one a success?
Okay, so to answer the first question, whether the initial iteration of this policy program was successful under the last administration, there's this popular social media statement as how now. So we have a chat. So we have a trust. We've always had a trust deficit between the various governments that have governed Nigeria and the people of Nigeria. But with certain administrations, that gap seems to have widened exponentially. So here we have a statement that they plan to feed 50 million pupils in 2026. Ladies and gentlemen, the election is coming. The stories are coming. The Lamba, as the streets call it, coming. Now, how many people are you feeding now? Crickets, graveyard silence. There's no figure. Now, I'm going to quote verbatim what Mr. Aderemi Adebowale, who is the National Program Manager, said. He said, ideally, school feeding should be between 500 naira to 1,000 naira per child. He then goes on to say, even at 500 naira per child, you should be able to still give the children a nutritious and delicious meal on a daily basis. I'm coming. Then he then says that the agency has controlled the price through the formation of an alignment of smallholder farmers, aggregators, supply chain, and developing partners. So what this means so far is there's an agreement. He then goes on to contradict himself by saying, so we have to agree on prices from our suppliers, agri vendors, and farmers to arrive at a reasonable cost per plate. So in the same gathering, he's made two different conflicting statements. First, he says it should be between 500 to 1,000. Then we need to agree to arrive at a reasonable cost per plate. Which direction or which version are we working with? Now, two, it will interest Nigerians to know that for inmates of Nigerian correctional centers, the daily feeding allowance as approved by August 2024, which was last year, is 1,125, 1,125 naira. And that is for 3 meals every day. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's even break down the 500 or 1,000 naira. What is a child supposed to eat with 1,000 naira? And 500 is enough starch. I'm not even going to go there.
I mean, looking at the way things are right now.
Look, an egg is 250 or 300, depending on where you are. So, and his words, they will be delicious and nutritious. Let's focus on nutrition. No child is going to have a nutritious meal for 1,000 rand. And I stand to be corrected, even by the nutritionists. It's not going to happen. Now, two, they plan to spread it across the nation, correct? Good. Take Sokoto that we just discussed in the earlier story, where 10 local governments are governed by non-state terrorist actors. Are the children in those local governments are they going to benefit from this program?
Are the children that even going to school?
No. Leave the going to school, because how are they going to benefit? Then they also say this program will cater for out of school children. So let's take certain areas and put them into proper perspective. We're in Victoria Island right now. How are they going to feed the children in Victoria Island? Where are they going to be fed? Then the out of school children in Victoria Island in Ikoyi, how and where are you going to feed them?
I don't imagine there's a plan for that. I mean, where to gather,
then,
logistics, and so on and so
lastly, I keep saying there's no money. People think it's a joke. The athletes who won the basketball competition and the football competition that were promised the Naira equivalent of $100,000 they were given houses. Anyway, as we speak, nobody has received anything.
They're still working on that. They're still being worked on.
So it's hard to believe this story. It's hard to believe that they're going to. Where did they find 50 million pupils? Do we have 50 million pupils? Where is the register? How was this list populated? So there are so many questions. I don't want to say certain things on air, but personally, I don't believe the story.
I just want to say we are a miraculous country. We fed students in school during COVID, so anything is possible.
Anything is possible. Like Barakari and Whitney Houston said, there can be miracles when you believe. For those who know that song,
we fed people, we fed students during Buhari's time, during COVID, in school. So, hey.
All right, AB, let's talk about matters in the petroleum sector. We're stepping into the Daily Post, the back and forth between Dangote and so on and so forth. The Depot and Petroleum Products Marketers Association of Nigeria, DAPMAN, has said the fuel distribution scheme by Dangote Refinery is misleading and a scam. DAPMAN disclosed this in a statement reacting to the face-off between the National Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers, NUPENG, and the Dangote Refinery. Now, this is as Dangote Refinery on Thursday said it would begin fuel and diesel distribution nationwide with its 4,000 compressed natural gas trucks. This face-off and back and forth here, AB, it kind of feels like a situation of when two elephants are fighting, it's the grass that will suffer. I don't know, I could be wrong, but what do you think?
I think one side is not an elephant, but an irritant. Listen, that man, another name, just jumped out of nowhere. I know if I do Google, I find that long and illustrious history of providing solace to Nigerians and being such a very wonderful labor union for everybody. But I happen to agree with that man that I think at this point, that man should take a stand and go to all of the other refineries scattered randomly across Nigeria and leave Dangote to his own devices. Because why should somebody where your government has failed, your government has taken 17 point something billion, I've been a trillion, to say you are doing refineries, you don't call that a scam? That man's name was not seen in all the years of turnaround maintenance. That man was never seen. Now somebody has bothered, call him what you want, to build a functional refinery. That man comes out of the woodwork or the morass of incompetence and start telling me that they are scamming me. Okay, that man, prove your allegation. Go and get the non-scam petrol from the non-scam refineries and flood the country with cheaper fuel so that you will hoist Dangote on his own petard and demonstrate indeed that he is trying to scam us. I don't hold brief for Dangote. I don't know. We all know him. He doesn't know me. That's for sure. But the thing you can do from the distance I am to him is say he's put his money where his mouth is in this country. Look, some of us who are owing 10 naira know how tough it is. I can't imagine what it must be to owe the kind of billions in dollars that that man owes. That's his own business. I'm not him. But that man will call what he's trying to do a scam. They should buy their own equivalent 4 CNG trucks or 400 and again demonstrate a much better way that will show me as a non-aligned person that that man's way is non-scammy, much cheaper, much more efficient compared with Dangote's way that is, according to them, a scam. That man has a crisis of credibility and common sense. Yes, I said it, I didn't stutter. If they have a better way to demonstrate the scam involved in Dangote, which is not to say, please let's be on record, which is not to say that Dangote is not up to things. I don't know him. But guess what? You have the option when you have such an allegation to demonstrate the right and the better way, which will now make me as an observer say, wow, look how much better that man's refineries and trucks and delivery system is compared with the scammy Dangote version. If you can't do that, honestly, that man, you need to shut up, sit this one out, and get your act together because you have come up in that man. Anyway, that's the acronym, so that's fine. You have come up in the middle of nothing. You have added no value that anybody, at least Nupeng, we knew Nupeng. When Kokori was there, we knew Nupeng was fighting for democracy. That man has come out of nowhere claiming that Dangote is a scam and cannot prove it to me. They are incredibly irrelevant in this conversation. Yes, they can go on strike or whatever, and they can make me have pain. But they will just be pushing themselves further and further from me in terms of considering them a valuable group. So that man, get out of here.
Yeah. All right. Let me take messages, man. The time has absolutely flown by this morning. Let me take your messages, get your thoughts in. A number of them have already lined up here. Cisco Delgado, good morning to you. He says, the masses are watching and a time will come when the people will take responsibility for security of their communities. I'm still watching the Nepal tragedy and Nigeria is always in my mind. That project, school feeding program, is a big scam. Talking about, people taking responsibility for security and protecting themselves. A couple of days ago, I was watching a National Geographic documentary of the LA riots in 92, of course, after, the aftermath of the Rodney King trial and all that. And specifically what happened in Koreatown when the Koreans took up arms to protect their businesses and themselves. You could see them, with guns and everything. And I thought to myself that, these people felt completely threatened and felt that if they didn't do anything, the rioters, the looters would, come by, destroy their livelihoods, destroy that, and so on and so forth. That just came to my mind. It's like an aside, but it just came to mind. It kind of mirrors what is going on in a lot of places in Nigeria, where you have villages, different communities being overrun regularly, communities that are out of the control of the government of the day. And you just ask yourself, are these people not supposed to find some way to protect themselves and their livelihoods because it seems like there's nobody coming to save them. Anyways, let me take more messages. This is Tayo in Aja who says, besides state police and bearing arms, death penalty should also be revisited. It would serve as a deterrent against terrorism. What is amiss in the country is healthcare isn't a priority. Elites will go abroad and get treated only to be celebrated for a successful medical tourism. AB, asking a lazy and rent-seeking body that man to be active and responsible. Well, somebody has to do it. Fabian Inekwe says, I pray that the time will not come when hospitals shut down due to the lack of staff and moribund infrastructure. Why does this government consider the school feeding program more of a priority than to empower the parents of these children to take care of their children? Mr. C, we talked about this before we came in. We literally talked about that before coming on air. The government prefers to watch its 4 children, refineries, die and beg the servant's child for food. Penny for your thoughts there. This is Lekon in Lagos, who says, congratulations on the president. Congratulations, the president has been on an enjoyment cruise tour from Japan to Brazil, now to France on a medical tour. He's on working leave, Lekon, working leave. while public hospitals are in a dead state and doctors and nurses are on strike. And Bayo Ononuga will tell stories to the journalists that it's a state visit. The Guinness Book of World Records should have given him the most traveled president in the world, while the nation is on autopilot with the wasteful, unnecessary, and unfruitful trips of the president. I had to shorten that. Interestingly, when month of September, President Tinubu has not traveled only in the month of March, yet every other month up until this point, he's been out of the country. Almost a perfect record, really, when you think about it. Joseph Meni in Silver State, Ijibo says, it's really unfortunate as it's beginning to feel that most of these governors and other public office holders are just ceremonial leaders after money and not leadership. How they can stand how is it they can stand a mandate to squander resources yet not secure lives and properties of citizens in their domains? It's really painful how lives are lost daily. May God help us. May God help us indeed. This is Ajayi Oloniloa. Good morning to you, sir. The sad reality about insecurity ravaging the land is that communities are left completely unprotected. I just returned from a visit to my village of Ayokunmi, and there's absolutely no security presence there, even as Fulani herdsmen have begun incursions into their farmlands. There's no reason for any further delay in the implementation of the state and evil local government police. And then he says, Darkman and Nupeng are part of the saboteur marketers that have scammed helpless citizens with subsidy and refused to get NNPCL to make the refineries work. They should leave the Dangote refinery well alone. Alrighty, thank you all so much for the messages. I had to run through every single one. Hey, we love to hear from you every single day. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much to you, AB and Mr. C, for getting the week started on an absolutely fiery note. AB.
I congratulate our remote working president on his latest tour, and I plead with the long-suffering Nigerians to keep putting your best foot forward. We shall not change our characteristic ability to perform as Nigerians because of how some people who call themselves leaders seem to just leave us to fend for ourselves and, in fact, in Sokoto, die for nothing. God bless all of you and make your week prosperous.
All right, Mr. C.
Okay, thank you, Ayo. Thank you, AB. And so everyone out there, let's just have a good week. Let the wicked people repent from their ways, and let's realize that the journey to a better Nigeria is a long one. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Let's, like AB said, put our best foot forward. Let's put in our bets and let's live loving each other, and we'll start to see wonderful things happen.
Amen to that. Let's have a productive Monday, a productive start to our week. But that doesn't mean that the show ends here. No, the show definitely goes on because we'll get into the world of sports in the locker room at 8:15. For those of a Manchester Red persuasion, well, all I can say is that let's hold hands and sing Kumbaya. We shall prevail. The locker room at 8:15. Stay with us. The headline.